it's not easy being green. Seems you blend in with so many other ordinary things.
It really isn't easy being green, especially for a frog or other amphibian faced with unpredictable seasons, pollution, and loss of habitat. More than a third of the world's nearly 6,000 plus known amphibian species are under threat from environmental issues and the deadly chytrid fungus that could wipe out entire populations. But a new captive breeding program in Madagascar is one of several steps being taken by herpetologists worldwide.
They're undergoing a pretty alarming decline. Many species are declining, and many species are suspected to have gone extinct. So the thing about amphibians, many of the declines are very rapid. So captive breeding it's kind of a way of buying time, I guess. It's a way of avoiding immediate extinction.
Robin Moore is an amphibian expert at Conservation International. The amphibian captive breeding program in Madagascar houses about 30 frogs from the Andes-Sibe region, but there are plans to increase that number and eventually breed more threatened species.
I think the key is, combining a program such as this with programs in the field, so to make sure that the amphibian's habitat is being protected. And the idea is that you can reintroduce these species back into the wild.
Here in the United States, John Klepfer of the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries helps keep track of amphibian populations at the Mattapanai Wildlife Management Area as part of a national monitoring program. He says wildlife officials first noticed amphibian declines in the 1970s, but it wasn't until the mid-1990s that the chytrid fungus was identified as the reason for massive die-offs.
And that stuff actually moves almost like a cloud of death through the area, especially when you saw it down in Panama and the Isthmus of Central America. They literally, Karen Lips, actually, a researcher, actually was able to map out almost to the day when it would start to show up and start to affect those frogs in that area.
Klepfer says people don't really seem to realize the importance of amphibians and their roles in an ecosystem.
They insects, and then they're food for other animals, and then how they help aerate the soils as they move through these environments. I mean, it's just a network of interactions. And losing a frog species here, or losing a salamander species here, may not seem like that's too bad, but how many rivets can you pop out of an airplane wing before the wing falls off finally?
Despite living mostly underground, most amphibians are dependent on water for reproduction, but not just any water, shallow water. Evan Grant is a wildlife biologist in Maryland with the U.S. Geological Survey.
This is one of our monitoring targets in the Northeast. I've studied over 630 ponds since 2004, have been monitored every year across 17 parks and refuges. They're important habitats because they hold water for only a couple months in the spring and summer. We consider them critical breeding habitat for two species, the wood frog and the spotted salamander, among other species. Now, forecasts for climate change that we're looking at in the Northeast in particular, we're predicting that we're going to have more severe droughts, more severe short duration droughts. So these types of habitats and these amphibian populations may be more at risk for decline.
To help mitigate the effects of a possible drought, this naturally occurring pond was dug a little deeper so that it would hold water longer during the rainy season. Grant says they are now studying the effectiveness of the deeper pond, which also contains an impervious liner.
If it's effective at producing more metamorphs, more juvenile frogs, if those juvenile frogs are then able to go and colonize other habitats in good years and good wet years when we can only manage a certain number of ponds, we can't manage all 1,200 ponds in a refuge. So how many ponds do we need to manage and in what way to protect these populations, ensure that long-term persistence?
In the middle of winter, there are no frogs or salamanders to be found. However, just 2 hours south, back in Virginia, John Klepfer spots an egg mass in a small puddle near the road, likely spotted salamander.
You see each one of those black spots is a developing larvae.
Nearby, tadpoles, possibly green or wood frogs, swim around in the muddy water. A promising sight for someone who researches amphibian conservation. Unfortunately, in other parts of the U.S. and elsewhere across the globe, the amphibian world is in trouble. That's why captive breeding centers are so important and may help prevent any more of these fascinating creatures from becoming extinct. Rebecca Ward, VOA News.